Thomas Cavendish, yo, picture this cat, Thomas Cavendish, back in 16th century England. Dude was loaded, smart as hell, and totally bugging out over the romance of the sea. That was the vibe back then. Ask any little kid what they wanted to be when they grew up, and it was always a sailor. New lands, crazy loot, adventures, fame, chicks. Okay, maybe not so much on the chicks for sailors, and the treasure wasn't guaranteed, but the adventures and the fame. Yeah, those were definitely on the menu. After knocking out 2 years at Cambridge, Thomas is like, screw this, and joins the English Navy. He scores some serious experience, sticking it to the Spanish for the glory of the Queen. Then Francis Drake rolls back from his round-the-world trip with mountains of cash and a hero's welcome. Cavendish is thinking, all right, time to put my own crew together. So at 25, this dude outfits 3 ships, hires 120 souls for his crew, and hits the open water. The main game plan? Scoop intel, map out islands, straits and currents. And yeah, you know the deal. Plunder. Gotta have that plunder. First stop? Portuguese Sierra Leone in Africa. Right there, Cavendish lays down the law for his expedition. Loot everything that ain't nailed down. Burn what you can't loot. Waste the soldiers and the civilians. Waste 'em too. What else you gonna do? Let's roll. We got Spanish dudes to rob in the Pacific. And off they went. They cruised across the Atlantic without a hitch, but the Strait of Magellan threw 'em a curveball. 3 years earlier, King Philip of Spain got all riled up about Drake's raids and ordered a fort built in the strait to block the damn English from getting into the Pacific. The Spanish built King Philip's city with a fortress at the narrowest point, left a garrison, some settlers, 8 months' worth of grub, and sailed off feeling pretty good about themselves. How about that, Francis Drake? But Sir Francis Drake wasn't around to appreciate their efforts. Thomas Cavendish, though, he definitely did. When he got close to the fort, he found a bunch of ragged dudes on the shore, starving. They spilled the beans. Turns out the land there ain't exactly farm country. Storms and rain wipe out the crops, mean local tribes don't let you plant or hunt in peace, and fish are scarce and hard to catch. The settlers said that after most of the colony starved to death, they buried the cannons and bailed, heading east, where they bumped into Cavendish's crew. They begged him to take him anywhere, just get him out of that cursed place. Thomas agreed, and the colonists, in return, showed him where they'd buried the cannons. After mounting the new artillery on their ships, the expedition bounced from that gloomy ghost town, which Cavendish marked on his maps as Port Famine. For over 6 months, Cavendish's little fleet terrorized the west coast of South America, hit Spanish ships and ports with mixed results. Anyone who's played Sea Dogs knows that kind of action thins out your crew fast. And since there weren't any friendly taverns for a few thousand miles, Cavendish made a tough call. Sink the smallest ship and divvy up the sailors between the other 2. So, with his remaining 2 ships, our boy lays in wait for the Manila Galleons, the ones hauling rich cargo from the Spanish colonies in the Philippines to California. Back then, the Pacific was considered Spain's lake. The Spanish crown ruled those waters with an iron fist. The trading ships felt right at home, so these galleons were built to carry a ton of cargo and weather some serious storms. But their fighting skills, not so hot. So when Cavendish's squadron ran into one of these galleons, the Santa Ana, it was a piece of cake for him to take her down. One shot below the waterline and the crew throws up the white flag. They board the Santa Ana, and what do they find? Gold, silk, precious stones, spices, so much stuff they couldn't fit it all in their holds, even if they dumped all the food, water, and gunpowder. Stoked, Cavendish puts the surviving galleon crew ashore, gives them some planks, canvas, and food so they can build some tents and survive for a bit. Meanwhile, his crew guts the Santa Ana's holds, manages to snag about half the loot, and then, with tears of greed in their eyes, torches the rest along with the Galleon. Thomas Cavendish, laughing his head off, sails off into the sunset on his noticeably heavier ships, while the Spanish dudes on the shore watch their hopes for a better life go up in flames. The ships burning, the Spaniards crying, but he couldn't have done anything different. Wait a minute. Could he have? Could they really swim from the shore to a burning ship and put it out with no boats or firefighting gear? Just doggy paddle over, climb aboard, and use little buckets to douse the flamin' rigging. Hell yeah, if it's your only shot at getting home, and there's still millions of dollars worth of goods in the holds. Sebastian Vizcaíno, the bravest of those Spaniards, thought so too, and with a few die-hard guys, they actually swam over and put out the fire. Then they used the planks and canvas the English had given them out of pity. They unloaded the goods, patched up the galleon somehow, and it even made it to Mexico, where they reported the location of the cargo left on the shore. For that crazy bravery, they didn't even get chewed out for losing half the loot. King Philip himself promoted Sebastian to chief pilot of the next expedition. But Thomas Cavendish didn't know any of that. He woke up the next morning feeling like a genius for outsmarting and destroying the Spanish crown. Turns out, though, that Maestro Cavendish got played himself. His flagship was sailing west solo, and the second ship, loaded with silks and spices, had quietly bailed. Later on, no trace of that ship was ever found. Most likely it either sank, or the crew sold the loot and chilled comfortably into old age in some colony. We'll never know for sure. But even with just one ship, Cavendish rolled into Plymouth a winner. He set a record for the fastest circumnavigation, a record for the most returning crew, brought back valuable maps and info, and, of course, holds full of Spanish gold and expensive goods. But despite those records, Thomas never quite reached Drake's level of fame, and that ate him up inside. He didn't go from farm boy to the Queen's favorite. The Spanish didn't tremble in fear at the mere mention of his name. No straits, islands, or even sons were named after him. No whispers in the taverns about his supernatural powers or deals with the devil. A successful pirate who completed the third circumnavigation in history. That's how posterity would remember him. Too bad there was only one Drake. Though, maybe that was for the best.